It's like the best video ever.
This is crazy.
We got 25 minutes. We gotta go.
Oh, hey. What's going on, folks?
Welcome everybody to episode 14. Super excited to have you guys here. Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Happy Wednesday, family. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. We are tuning in live. We're recording live. What are we doing live?
We are definitely live.
There we go.
Let us know where you're tuning in from.
Absolutely. Drop that in the comment below.
Yeah, let us know where you are.
Everyone.
Happy Wednesday, Jeannie. Awesome. So you got the timer, Winston? You got the timer?
I am. Let's throw the question up there first, and then I will give that to you. So give me my drum roll, sis.
What is today's question? Question. Am I feeling emotionally fatigued? Should I rest or push through? Sorry, I'm feeling.
I love how you said, I'm like, am I feeling? So, folks, Janelle's already answered yes. She is feeling emotionally fatigued.
Okay, I'm feeling emotionally fatigued. Should I rest or push through? Right. So,
all right.
You can imagine we've all been there.
Let me throw that up for you guys. Big. Let's go.
There we go. So in the chat, have you ever felt emotionally fatigued yourself? Have you ever felt emotionally fatigued and pushed through, or did you give it a rest? What made you decide to push through? What made you decide that it's time to take a rest? I would love to hear from you guys about that. So do you want to you start us off? I feel like I started off the last one, so you start us off.
No, that's fair. All right, so I love this question. One of the professions that I have is a personal trainer. And I think when I saw the question, I thought to myself, there are times where physically we can manifest or tell ourselves that we are tired, exhausted. And so often it's mental. But I love this question because there's an emotional factor to it, right? So the emotional side is, you can be talking really poorly about yourself. That inner idiot that you may have can be saying things, and it drains your emotions or drains you mentally. And so you feel it physically. And so I want to say my simple answer would be yes to push through. But what I've starting to learn about emotional exhaustion, and I'll throw up one of the definitions that I found. Well, I'll hold off on that until we get into that topic part. But what I found about emotional exhaustion or fatigue is it actually affects how you show up, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to say yes, you push through, but what does that really look like? What does it mean to push through? Where if I'm pissed off, or if I haven't taken the time to get myself back on track emotionally, does it really make sense to push through, or am I going to do a disservice by pushing through? So it's one of those ones where I'm going to say yes and no, but I'm going to say you should rest. And again, it's because of the specific part of the emotional side and not the physical or the mental side. You know what I mean? Like what exactly has gotten you to this emotional exhaustion? And if so, I think it's something you should rest and address before you push, or instead of pushing through. I'll give that as my simple answer, and I'll let you go, and then we could go back and forth if you disagree.
So, initially, I'm thinking, hey, Brittany. Initially, what I'm thinking is, and again, let us know if you guys have ever felt emotionally fatigued and whether you push through or if you got some rest. But it's interesting because you made the distinction of emotionally fatigued and like pushing through versus giving it some rest. Like, does that change that, right? Because it's emotional versus physical. Because initially when I think about this, I think like working out. So your point, like the physical part of it, like you're working out and you're just feeling tired, and is it worth it to just push through, do the extra rep? For me, I think about when I used to play soccer. And so like, I remember like there were days where like you were super tired and like the ball's out in front. I played defense. So I had to keep these strikers away from the net. And it was like, who wants it more? We're both really tired and we're both going after this ball. And like, it's just, like, you just have to like dig into something that like the resources that you didn't even know you had in order to like make it happen. And I think about that sometimes. I do think about that sometimes with my emotions, right? Like when you should be doing something, and let's just be real with business, right? With business, I get emotionally drained. I'm just like, I'm out here, I'm running. Real story. I live in a suburb of New York City currently, and a lot of my clients want to be seen in the city. So I am running in and out of the city like for 3 days in a row. And I'm like, I get home and I'm just like, I am tired. I'm emotionally tired because like you gotta be on, right? You gotta be on, you gotta show up, you have to be listening, you have to care what other people are saying, you have to see if you can provide solutions, or like all of these things. You gotta be on, you gotta be in tune. And then I get home and it's like, and now I gotta be on and in tune for the people on my team, and I gotta like be there for them, and like and like all for good, right? Like all of this is good stuff. It's what do they call it? Money making activity. Is that what we call it?
Yeah. Income producing activity.
Income producing activity. All this income producing activity, and it feels good in the moment, of course, right? Because you're like rolling. But then at the same time, I'm like, ugh, should I push through this? Like, or should I just recognize, to what Winston pointed out, like, we had a mentor who once used to say, like, what's down on the wall comes up in the bucket. I say that often. Like, and if I've got nothing, if I'm like really emotionally drained, what's going to come up is going to be nothing or negativity, and how will that impact my team? Like, how will that impact the potential client or customer that I have in front of me, or a potential new team member, right? That like I'm trying to, share with them the vision of what we're looking to do here. And so it's one of those balancing acts. And I have to tell you, in both physical, I just gave you the example of like soccer or whatever, but like in both my physical and my business world, I have to say, like, there is something about the push through. There is something about the push through. Even when you're tired and you show up and like something happens in that moment, in that magic, and I can't explain it. I mean, the biggest example I can give right now is like, I just told you, I've been running around. And I'm telling you, I'm tired. I'm emotionally tired, but like had an appointment, I stick to my schedule. I responsibly schedule myself, and I just like showed up, and then boom, right? Make some money. You get a customer, you get a sale. And I feel like looking back at my business, that's kind of what happens. Like you run yourself, and then even like just when you're like super tired, somebody shows up who's like been waiting for you. Literally, this woman said to me, she was like, forget like all the other ways that we know each other. Where have you been? Like seriously, like where have you been? Because this is amazing. And like, who knows? Like the times when I'm not doing something, the times when I'm, and I let myself, okay, let's relax or whatever. I don't know. I just feel like those kind of breakthroughs don't always come. And so I have seen what is possible when you push through. And it's moments like those that remind me to continue to push through. I think what's important, and this is another life mentor of mine, Josh Valentine, if we ever get you on here, I would be happy to have you on here, chopping it up with us. But we should really look into that. One of the things
note to self.
Right. One of the things I think about is what he recently said is like responsibly scheduling your calendar, right? So like you're busy, but like you schedule in time for yourself, or you schedule that vacation, right? So like you're pushing, and you made a commitment to push through even when you're emotionally tired up to a certain point, because you've scheduled time in your calendar to just be like, I'm done. Like we're not doing that anymore today. And that's so important. It's so important because that's when you get that time to kind of reboot. So you do have something. There is something in the well to give to other people. But that is something that is being learned. That is something that I am actively working on. It is not something that I can claim that I've mastered in any way, shape, or form. I just feel like it's more like something that I'm living through right now. Like I'm living and going through it,
Well, no, absolutely. No. Well, guys, drop it a comment in the chat if you do agree with Janelle, if you have had similar situations or similar instances where you had something that, to her point, you felt exhausted, but you did push through. And on the other side of it, you had a breakthrough, you made a sale, whatever. Maybe somebody in the team was impacted in a positive way, even though at the time you may end up seeing it as something that was worth, continuing. And Janelle, some of the points you brought up in your examples, really had me thinking. Like, I completely agree. And even from the physical side, I know what it is to tell a person, we're doing 10, and then we end up doing 12, and there's this sense of, oh my God, because that thing you mentioned is just that idea where something in you, whether consciously or subconsciously, starts to believe, oh, I'm capable of this. Oh, I'm able to do more. A big part of why I love physical training and working out is that idea that I can make my body, or through skills and through coaching, however you look at it, I can make my body do things. I can make my body look a certain way by following those things. And one of the things that is big in our industry, and maybe a part of what we were talking about, is something known as a blitz, right? So you're fired up, you're in the business, and it maybe in your company it's a different terminology, but essentially what it is, and I'll give you the definition. So a blitz, guys, is by definition a sudden, energetic, and concerted effort typically spent on a specific task. Now, thinking of blitz in your business is like a pre-planned method of attack to help you produce more in much less time. And we all know, again, if you've done a blitz before, let us know in the comments that you have. Let us know how that experience was for you. I've known people who attempt to do 30-day blitz, 45, 60-day blitz. Usually in most companies, if your events are every 90 days, they, let's go on a run. Maybe it's called a run.
Or a challenge, like let's do a 30-day challenge.
There you go. And I can tell you, in someone who's very honestly never made it all the way through a blitz, a lot of it is what I would have in the past considered mental fatigue. We're doing events day after day, or we're doing events every 2 days. We're doing webinars. We've done all day blitzes on holidays. Like, we've done a bunch of those different types of things. And one of the things, and again, I agree with you about the push through, because I have a story that came to mind when you were sharing yours about just what it meant to not see yourself being able to do something but pushing through. And I'll share that in a little bit. But the part I really want to touch on is just that emotional aspect of what it means to show up, or what it means to be able to self-assess and in the moment. And now we can get into how long you take off, if you are going to rest, all that kind of stuff. We can discuss it, but what it looks like to be aware of what you're feeling. One of the things I remember I get told often is, like, if you're going to show up on a one-on-one or a presentation or an opportunity presentation with someone, and if in your head you are saying all the negative things about why this person won't join, why you aren't the leader. We talked last week about imposter syndrome, like why you aren't the leader that this person is going to sign up with. You'll almost often get that person will walk right out and never buy from you. And so I do think, although I do agree with you, that push through is powerful. Being emotionally fatigued and still choosing to show up to things may not always serve you, because if you reflect on it poorly, let's say I have 5 appointments in one day, but I am done. And I am not saying to cancel appointments or anything like that, but guys, let's say you're just not in the right place or mindset emotionally to go to those things. You may do yourself a disservice. So all I'm saying is maybe a little bit of a checks and balance. Maybe you have someone like Janelle as your upline leader. You give her a call and go, hey, look, I got 3 appointments today, 5 appointments, but I am feeling really beat up. Can I talk to you? Just something like that. So we see, Brittany, my idea of emotional stress fatigue has appeared very often for me, and I've seen the impact having on all things around me. I finished a task today and literally had to talk myself through it. I love that. My thoughts have changed, however, based on the book I'm reading. That must be a good book. Hopefully you're in a virtual book club that you can share your thoughts with. Right? No, but I love that, though, because again, that's a part of what she was saying, talking to yourself. And if you can be honest with yourself, and maybe you're not the best at talking to yourself, I know I get there sometimes. Again, this show is built on me having to talk to Janelle through a lot of emotional things that we did go through. Let's be honest, right? There'd be days where we were like, yo, we were this close to hitting this next rank and blah, blah, blah. And it's, well, hey, and then and we bounced ideas back off of each other. So I only throw that out there to say that if you're able to recognize that, and you're doing something like a blitz or a run, that pause, maybe momentarily, actually it should be momentary. You should create a strategy around how to help yourself when you are feeling that emotional fatigue, so that you maybe, again, you can have, and then maybe, you can share. I know you're not always big on the how-tos, but just some of the things that you've done to help you make that decision.
100%. I think for me, I'm very musical. And I would actually say most of us are, even if you don't necessarily identify yourself as that. But like the background music, you know, the soundtrack to your life. Right? Like in moments, like what would that sound like? And I know, you know, when I'm busy doing something, I'm writing a book, for example, right? And like super tired, don't really know what I want to do. And then
sometimes you just drop that in there, buy her book when it comes out.
And like you put like, so one of my favorites is to put on like a Hans Zimmer. This is like, or like look up like the soundtrack for like Batman or Superman. Superman's a good one. Any of those kinds of things. And it almost feels like, you know, it's like that moment when like the superhero is like gearing up to do something big, right? And like you like feel it, you know, and it just kind of like gets you kind of like in this zone where you're ready to like, yes, shameless plug, Brittany. It just sometimes like gets you in that zone, you know, like that feeling like when you're in the movies and like the surround sound music and you're like, you know, like you're in it. And so I'd say music is super helpful. Like if there's a song that, you know, just like hypes you up, I would say have that song on your phone. And before you go into a meeting, before you go into anything, like play that song. I used to do that actually a lot way more often than I'm currently doing. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, I need to put that back in my arsenal of things to do. Cause you know, like here's like you guys can't see it, but when like our like intro video comes on, like Winston and I are like shaking it up, you know, like getting into the and then like it just kind of like pumps you up and gets you ready to go. So I think if I had to give a how-to or like a tool to put in your tool belt, I would definitely say like just notice like the music in your life and what are the things that kind of like get you going. And then the other like basic thing that I would say, which is harder, maybe not so hard, but like you can like put a song in your phone and you're like, all right, I'm about to do an appointment, I'm about to go exercise, I'm about to do whatever, like let me put on this song. Great. But then like there are those other times. The other thing is I would say just an awareness, being aware, and don't suppress it. Like if you're like, I'm feeling this weird feeling around whatever your next activity is, just identify that you're even having a weird feeling. It may feel icky to you or whatever, but I think just identifying it, you're like, all right, I don't feel good about this. Like, what can I do to kind of like get me out of this funk? And if it's playing a song, awesome, you know, like we'll go with it. But I think most of us, when we do feel icky, that it's half the problem is that we like suppress it and we're like, no, I don't feel like, you feel guilty about feeling bad about calling a prospect or like, you know, having a business meeting with a potential client. Like sometimes you're like, oh, you know, and then you feel guilty about the bad feeling that you have about going to do that activity. So I would say one of the biggest things that you could do is just like be mindful of it and say like, I'm feeling something about this. And then notice it so that way you can do something to shake it up. But don't like, I don't want to say like don't, but I would say it would help you if you didn't try and stuff that feeling down. The more you try and stuff it down, it's going to come up subconsciously and perhaps not go over so well with the person that you're meeting with.
No. I actually love that. And while you were talking, I looked it up. And this is why she's the professor, guys. So here's some things they identify that you can do. So here are some pointers to get you started. Take a look at the impact of your emotions. You know, intense emotions aren't all bad. You want to aim for regulation, and the same point Janelle just made, not repression. That is a huge thing. There are times where we're feeling something and maybe the idea is just to be like, well, no, I don't want to, but maybe it's take some time to reflect and ask yourself why, you know, why am I feeling that way? And so you can get a sense of it. Identify what you're feeling. That's a big one. Accept your emotions, all of them. Keep a mood journal, take a deep breath, know when to express yourself and give yourself some space. And I think that last one, for me, maybe not as often now with working out, but a big part of why I love still working out is just that moment. And Janelle said it, there's time like right before I lift and I put music on it. I'm like obsessed with Toby right now. Iwu. I can't play it because of copyright. They're quiet on our show. But he has this song, and right before it's like some lifts, if it's like a heavy weight and I really want to get into a zone, I put it on. I love the beat. I've done what you've done before, Jay, with soundtracks and just the way, like, Batman's a great one. Star Wars is huge. The high, like, they're really, really big orchestra type music. So I love stuff like that because it's not always singing or words. It's just the sounds, like, you're like, you feel like something's really coming at you. So I also love that. But through having been through a few Tony Robbins trainings, one of the things he stresses is what you said, Jay, which is this sense of being able to be aware of your emotions, not repressing it, but then again, having practical things that you can do that get you excited. Like, so Janelle's a big salsa dancer for anyone who knows her. And so I can't imagine seeing Janelle sad and salsa dancing. It's like something in my head just tells me that because of that love for that, she'd rather, her state, whether it's sad, maybe coming in, a couple twists and a couple of this into it, after a while, exactly, that smile right there pops up. And it's just maybe even, again, whatever she's was focusing on would leave her. For me, again, it's the gym. I know you can't see me, but I'll be like with the dumbbell. Right. But guys, the reason why we bring this up is I think it's more of us wanting to share that I think emotional fatigue will happen. It's happened to us multiple times.
Super normal.
Yeah, beat yourself up when you're having that go on, and it just limits you. Because to Janelle's point, I don't think you're gonna learn through repressing it, right? You won't be able to identify. And I think to her, to the other point she made earlier, when you do start to get a handle on it, I think that push through that you mentioned, Jay, becomes a lot easier when you're going, man, I'm sad, but I'm gonna call the prospect anyway. Like, man, I'm fatigued. And you were sharing a story with me earlier, Jay, about we've been doing these webinars and Zoom, and you can share it for yourself. Just, what it's like when you are exhausted and yet you still make sure you gave your word, and so you showed up. Talk to us about that.
Oh my gosh, your word. So it's so funny because the blitzes, for some reason, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, word choice is like a thing, man. Because you say blitz and I'm like, and then you say like 30-day challenge and I'm like, I'm in. It's so weird, but it's the same thing. Yeah. And so, like, it's just a commitment, right? Like, it's a commitment to do something day in, day out, whether you feel like doing it or not, which is essentially the definition of a commitment. The definition of a commitment is doing the thing that you said that you were excited about doing in the very beginning, even though the excitement has gone.
Long after the excitement is finished.
So, anyway, I say all that to say, so here I am, like, in challenges and doing all this stuff. And one of them is, right, like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to continue for these next 30 days to have Zoom presentations, to share our information, promote, to get customers, to get other people to join the team, et cetera. And there are days where, like, no one shows up. No one shows up. I will say I'm thankful that it's no one shows up on a Zoom rather than me going all the way out to Brooklyn and no one showing up. I will say that, though. There is something about that. So thank you, God, for that. I'm thankful for that.
Thank you, Zoom and the pandemic.
Right, exactly. And like, then, like, there are days where I'm like, oh, I hope today no one shows up because I'm super tired. All right. So yeah, I hope no one shows up because I'm super tired. And then people show up and I'm like, all right, here we go, and then you get that energy and you give what you got to give. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard stories of people who are like, I was dead tired, I wanted to go home, and then the miracle happens. Yeah. They pushed through and the miracle happened. That person showed up in their business that, like, changed everything. And they didn't know, like, you didn't know, like, none of us know it, right? Like, you don't know. You're just like, another thing, and then all of a sudden you look back and you're like, that was the day. That was the evening. That was the moment, whatever that was. And, like, I remember I did not want to do whatever. And then, and then that's when it happened. That's when the magic happened. I can think of somebody on my team, same thing. He was, like, done. He had a horrible day. He was like, I don't even want to go to this event. And, like, it was a huge event. There was, like, a family. We were going to go show them how the family as a whole could do something together as a whole. And by using our services, and he was just, like, not in it. And we went to this event, and let me just tell you, we get in there and, like, they're good people. So, like, the energy was great. And I think he fed off of that somewhat. And then after the event, when there was, like, a whole bunch of, like, buy-ins, essentially, he ranked up. And I remember we used to talk about that day all the time. I'm like, look at that day. It was the day that you were like, nope, I don't know, Janelle. I don't know if I want to do this. And I was like, come on. Like you said you were going to do it. You made an appointment. We were not backing down. We're going to go to this thing. We're going to, show up or whatever. And then boom, it was like one of the best events we had ever done. And so I can just time and time and time again, I can just think through that. So I think what's important is take those tools. Why does Janelle have tape in her hand? Take those take those tools that we mentioned and use them when you identify that you have fatigue. And then I would say the next step of that is just remember, like, this could be the moment. This is the reason why you should push through, is that this could be the moment that like something happens, and responsibly schedule yourself. Like, put things in your calendar, do it responsibly, including putting in hours or time in your calendar for just nothing, or hanging out with family, or just like, yeah, I'm going to just like binge YouTube for a moment. Like, whatever it is, to just like not, go for a walk. I really love that. Like, turn off the computer, turn off everything digital with a blue screen, just like go for a walk, look at a tree. Sometimes I do that. Like, here's a confession. I've been known to walk out and just touch trees. Like, it's real. It's not like on a screen. It's not something I'm looking at. This is a real tree with a real bark. Sometimes you just need that, but you schedule it in, and I guarantee you it'll make those times of fatigue a little bit.
I love that. The last thing, and I'll just get this little extra in. The last thing I'll say to this is, if you are at that place where you're identifying, or maybe you're uncertain as to what you're feeling, it could be mental as well. Guys, I hope that you're a part of an organization within our industry, that hosts major events. And if they do, I'm going to tell you guys, and just a real quick story. There's one time my firstborn son being born, and it was the date that he was supposed to be, was a major event in Miami. And I remember just being exactly this, emotionally fatigued, saying to myself, what kind of dad would I be, or father, if I am not there to see this? And yet there's a responsibility, a word I gave people, that I was going to show up at an event. And guys, I went to that event. And I am telling you that, to Janelle's point, you don't know what you don't know. I remember sitting with a young lady there, and she told me just how impactful. And I remember the whole time I'm just like, this is so stupid. I shouldn't have come. I was even there, even though I was there, I showed up, and I didn't show up as my best self. And the young lady that was next to me shared with me that this literally was in tears, calling her son, saying to her son, mommy's found it. Mommy's found the thing. And I bought into her. Watching her, because I'm there like, how am I at the same event as this woman, and yet I am not having that experience? And I can tell you, when I came back from lunch, because I was on a lunch break, I had a completely different perspective on where I was and what I was there for. So, guys, if you are feeling that, I hope your company has a virtual or in-person or whatever it is that they have, a Super Saturday or whatever they call it, but plug into an audio, plug into something. To Janelle's point, take your audio, go out in the street, touch some trees, right? Don't touch people, but touch trees, and have some fun. And guys, thank you so much. Thank you for everybody who was on live, that commented.
Yes.
We truly appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to be here with us. Next week, we have Bench Talk coming back. We got another guest. Super excited to talk to this brother who's going to be on here with us, excuse me. So please make sure that you guys tune in for that. And
sorry, real quick.
Oh, shoot. Oh. That's going to be our hashtag on the next time. And if you guys are, make sure you guys are following us on Instagram. Actually, now that I think about that, make sure you guys are following us on Instagram, guys. Like, tag, comment your friends and families. I know a lot of people on social media, it's a lot easier to find and tag people there than it is to do it on YouTube and so on. All right, there it is. Boom.
So, as always, remember you
deserve the good life.
Say that.
Have an amazing week, you guys. We'll see you guys next week, Wednesday.